I'm going to produce this painting using a sketch and a photo for reference. Hi everyone, Steve Elliott here again. I'm going to do a painting of this photo, but the composition is just way out of whack. There's elements in the picture that I don't like. I don't like the tarpaulin. It's ugly. It's bright and in your face. And I could have sort of changed the colour of it, but that it's still ugly. The horse is not positioned very well. I didn't want a great elongated canvas like that. I wanted a more proportional sort of to the golden mean type ratio. So I changed the ratio of the paper, and I produced a sketch in Tchaikovsky sketches, which you can see on the left there, before I started the painting, just to get in my head where I wanted everything to go. So if you haven't seen that video, I'll put a link to that. I recommend you go and see that first, because I talk in detail about why I'm sort of leave things out and so on. And then once I'd done the sketch, I didn't refer to it again. I didn't use it when I did the painting. I was just working in Artrage, and I had this reference photo exactly as you see here. And I used that solely. Now, this is from my autumn walking that I've been doing. And you'll know, if you've been following the channel, all the paintings I've done so far have been really bright colours, because the leaves were bright, and there's oranges and browns and really strong colour, and the light was superb. And that's reflected in the paintings. This particular morning, it was cold, it was grey, the sun was hidden with clouds, and there was frost on the ground, so not quite so colourful. And I wanted to totally reflect that in the painting. So I'm using blues and muted yellows, no really strong oranges or anything, to get that kind of cold feel to the painting. And also, if you saw the sketch, I got quite strong colours in the hay. It was bright yellow. I sort of muted all that back, because I wanted to I didn't want them standing out too much. I wanted them in the painting, but the horse to be the main feature. And also, I just felt it was it felt too warm, and I wanted to get this cold feeling. Brushes I've used in this, I used the roller just to get a sort of a grey colour over the canvas to start with, and then I used the flat oil brush for the bulk of the painting. And then when I'd sort of finished it and started going in with the detail, I then changed that to the round thick oil brush. So it was all painted on a couple of layers. One layer I put the initial colour on with the roller, and then I painted into that. I much prefer it. I don't like creating another layer. I like to mix the paints into the paint that's already on. So I sort of get all of the background on one layer. And then when I come to do the horse here, I did create another layer, because I knew I was going to, horses I don't paint a lot, and I knew I would be fiddling around with it and pushing colour around and changing shapes. It looks a little bit like a Shetland pony at the minute, I think, and tiny little legs. So I knew I was going to be messing about with this quite a lot, and I didn't want to damage the background. And also, as you can see, it's out of proportion. It's way too small at this stage to fit in with the scene, but I wasn't bothered about that, because I knew I could sort all that out once I got the kind of basic shape for the horse in there. So this is all done on a second layer sitting above the initial layer. There's no multiply or any effects on the layers at all. And I suppose it works. The horse sort of fits in at that size, I suppose. But I am going to make it bigger shortly. Sort of get and see that line. I like outlining parts of people and animals with an outline. It sort of gives the impression it's being caught by the light. But what you need to do, if you are going to do that, don't use white. If you use white, it's just going to stand out and look absolutely ridiculous. You need sort of an off grey colour, something similar, the same hue perhaps as the colour that you put in the rim round, but make it a lot lighter, but not white. There you can see I've changed the size of the horse now, and now we're getting a really nice composition. So you can see I have changed this photograph quite dramatically to get the scene that I want of this sort of cold autumn morning. I suppose it could be winter. It is I suppose we are going into early winter now, and I don't want sort of dark darks. You'll see that the darkest colours are still almost pastels rather than deep darks, because the light was very diffused and I wanted to get that in the painting. And if I started putting really dark colours in, it would give the impression that there was strong light, and there certainly wasn't that. So I've kept the darks to not too dark, if you get me. If you see what I'm trying to say, they're more muted pastels than they are really blacks, which I never use anyway. I'd never use a black. So I'm striving to produce a painting with which is impressionistic in its style, almost bordering on abstract in places, minimum brush strokes going in there, and I'm just looking at the shadows and painting those in really to get the effect I want. Now, when I painted this, when I did the sketch, I had this box painted in there, and I didn't know whether to put that in. And I think in this picture, I think the horse is slightly bigger than the sketch, and I was toying with the idea of leaving it out, and I don't know if it needed it, but looking at it now, it doesn't, but I did actually add that in. I'm using the thick oil brush now to add sort of a layer of texture over the painting. I'm sort of developing a style where I use the brushes that sort of just put a wash on, and you can still see the canvas through the paint, and then I go over it and paint with this thick oil, which adds this nice texture. And I usually put it on like the foreground and the main features, just sort of adding a few more little details after the signature went on there. And I think it's at this point I'm going to start thinking about putting this box in, because I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, yeah, it kind of, you could cut the painting down the middle, and I think it probably needs that box in there. So here we go. I do put, I'm calling it a box. I suppose it's his feeding trough, really, I'm guessing. I think there was a little bit of hay in there. But I think this just sort of ties the horse and the building and the hay all to one. It sort of, it gives you an element that allows all of those three objects to join up and become a whole. And you'll see there's a little bit of brown above the box. I bring that forward and down so it becomes part of the shadow of the box. So we haven't got this perfect rectangle thing sitting there. All right, there you go. Look, you see, I've sort of brought that along and mixed it into that box just to sort of hide that sharp edge, and then I make it a little bit bigger and then tidy up. I'm sort of erasing, because I put one or two of the lines around the horse and that on this new layer. This box was on a different layer, by the way. I forgot to say that. So we did create 3 layers. Once I'd painted the horse, I merged that down onto the original layer, and then I painted the box on another layer. And then you see I'm putting some blue. I thought I needed to just bring the blue in to tie that in with the rest of the painting, just to give that cold feel. And that is it. That is my horse in autumn painting. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, big thumbs up as always is much appreciated. And if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, because guess what? I have lots of videos like this and I would love to be sharing them with you. So hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Bye.